The Other Shore. From a book of old-fashioned fairy tales and fables by Chuma Ikenze. Once upon a time, there was a collector who had all kinds of oddities. Most of them were everyday items, but he only selected items that had a special story to tell, because this collector knew how to read the stories attached to each item that he chose. When he was not out collecting, he sat among his collections, reading their stories. Through this, he learned to read the human fates attached to each item. As he sat among his collection, he could see images of human lives floating before him. They appeared floating in what he could only describe as an ocean or web of fates. Some lives were drawn in waves toward the bank on which the collector was sitting and watching as an observer. Others flowed gently by, or were tossed about as they passed him, traveling on the ocean. Over the years, the collector had become quite familiar with the features of the different human fates. He often wondered how they acquired their traits. He also wondered why some fates seemed drawn toward the shore, while others simply remained in the ocean, flowing gently, or being tossed in the waves. Sometimes he wondered how things would look, with him standing on the other shore of this ocean of human fates. Would he see the same types of fates washed onto that shore? Or would they be different? Would he see things from a different perspective, even though the collector could not see beyond the horizon? He knew, from his experience of the oceans on Earth, that there must be another shore to this ocean of human fates. He had a strong desire to see the flow of human fates from the other side. So he started looking for a way to get to the other shore. The collector began to pay closer attention to the items he had on hand, hoping that their stories would reveal a secret passageway through which he could pass to the other shore. But none held this secret for him. So he decided to ask around for the pathway to the other shore. He inquired in every shop in all the cities, villages, and hamlets that he knew of, hoping he would find something or someone who could tell him about the other shore. He had been a collector and a seeker all his life, and had learned a lot of patience. Therefore, he would not be deterred or lose hope, even if he met with disappointments. One day, the collector walked into a very strange shop, located in a village high up in the valley of the Himalayas. This shop had an exotic collection of items that he had never seen before. Everything and anything that one could imagine in human life was in this shop. There were the rarest treasures and the most common items. This is the strangest assembly of things from human life that I have ever seen, he thought to himself. Then he turned to the shop owner, who had been watching him calmly and closely from the counter. The owner did not seem to be an ordinary dealer. There was something quiet and solemn about him. The collector noticed that this dealer had a peculiar glint in his eyes. The glint suggested that this dealer could see far more than the ordinary person. So, the collector asked him whether he knew about the other shore of the ocean of human fates, and how to get there. As the collector had sensed, the dealer was no ordinary dealer. He knew too well how much suffering many people brought on themselves with the things they acquired. As a merchant, he had witnessed how people purchased items from him at high prices and with great fervor, as if their whole lives depended on it. He observed that people seldom asked him any questions other than the cost of the item being purchased. Also, he had learned that many people were not even interested in the proper use or purpose of the items. The majority were only interested in an item's hoarding value. He was therefore quite surprised when this stranger asked about the ocean of human fates. The dealer smiled, but did not answer immediately. Instead, he studied this stranger quietly for a few minutes without uttering a word. Then he reached into a box that sat hidden by his feet and pulled out an ordinary-looking lamp. The lamp was of very careful workmanship. It did not need lighting because it was already burning with a beautiful blue flame. Without much ado, the dealer stretched the hand that was holding the lamp and said to the collector, "I give you this lamp." Then he added, "This lamp can be used by you alone. It is not for display anywhere." Surprised by this unanticipated response, the collector could only stutter. "Are you telling me that this lamp will tell me everything I need to know about the other shore?" "The lamp does not tell you anything about the other shore," said the dealer. "You have to walk to the other shore yourself. The lamp will only light your way to the other shore." The dealer's response sounded logical. But where was he going to find the way that the lamp would light? The dealer did not give an answer. He only smiled and asked him to be patient. Then he added that, in time, the way would appear of itself, as long as the collector's goal remained the same, and he kept the lamp burning. With that, he encouraged the collector to continue on his search. The collector thanked the dealer and asked him for the cost of the lamp. "I have many items in my shop that can be bought for a price," said the dealer. "I also have things that cannot be sold even for a kingdom. That little lamp in your hand is one of such. It doesn't cost anything. I am allowed to give it only to whoever asks about the other shore of the ocean of fates. It is your lamp, your eternal lamp to light your way to the other shore. Just make sure that you do not let its light die, because it will be difficult to relight." The collector thanked the dealer again and asked for his blessing as he continued his search. This time, the collector wandered more consciously, using the light of this eternal lamp in his search for the other shore. With the light from his lamp, the collector saw many things that he had not seen before. He saw giant stones and rocks moving and forming deep within the bowels of the earth. He looked into the dreams of flowers, and he understood the language of animals. But gradually, the path of the wanderer became more and more lonely and deserted. One day, the collector found himself standing alone in a desert. In the distance were 7 steep, rocky mountain peaks. His lamp cast its light in the direction of these mountains, indicating to him that he had to climb all 7 peaks. So, he climbed all 7 mountains, hoping to see the other shore from these peaks. But he saw only fresh snow on all 7 peaks. In the middle of the snow, on each mountain, blossomed a red rose that shone like a ruby. Something urged him to pluck each rose from each peak, to take with him as he continued on his way. After he had climbed all 7 peaks, the collector found himself standing in front of a tall gate at the bottom of the 7th mountain. While standing there and wondering what to do, a man who looked like the gatekeeper appeared and asked him what he wanted. "I'm looking for the other shore of the ocean of fates," said the collector. "What are you carrying with you on your way?" asked the gatekeeper. 7 red roses and my eternal lamp," said the collector. On hearing these words, the gatekeeper opened the tall gate to let him through. As the collector walked through the gate, he saw before him the entrance to a tunnel. "This tunnel is long and dark," he said to the gatekeeper. "Yes, I know," replied the gatekeeper. "But you have to go through it to come to the Sea of Infinity." "But I don't want to go to the Sea of Infinity," replied the collector. "I'm looking for the other shore of the ocean of fates, and I doubt if the Sea of Infinity has any shores." "Well, you will have to wait until you get to the other end of the tunnel to find out. Unless you are no longer interested and want to return to where you came from," said the gatekeeper. The collector stopped for a moment to reflect. As he reflected, he saw the light of his lamp flicker dangerously, as if about to die out. He thought about his journey thus far, and how he had encountered and experienced many things that he would not have believed possible. Then he thought out loud to himself, why should it be different this time? So he decided to go down the long tunnel as advised. Immediately, his lamp started to burn brightly again, and it cast the brightest light for him as he walked down the tunnel. The journey down the tunnel was quite pleasant. Before he knew it, he came out at the other end, but it was already night, and he was tired from his wandering. So he sat down on the soft sand on the shore, as the waves from the Sea of Infinity surged at his feet. The starry night formed a beautiful canopy over the gentle waves. Even though he was tired, he could not sleep. His eternal lamp burned brightly all night, revealing many beautiful images of human fates that he had never seen before. Soon, the stars faded, and day dawned. The collector beheld a most glorious sunrise, and the most exquisite sea and shore that he had ever seen. He could now see clearly that he was sitting on the softest white sand he had ever known. There were beautiful white-capped waves and images of fates riding atop the Sea of Infinity. These were much clearer and calmer than anything he was familiar with in the ocean of human fates on Earth. It seemed that here the concept of resting in peace had taken on form. As the collector looked far into the Sea of Infinity, again searching for its other shore, he thought he saw a shining island in the middle of the sea. But he could not be sure because the island vanished as quickly as it appeared. Then he saw a hawk, or was it an eagle? It was circling leisurely above his head, high up in the sky. The collector got up and started waving frantically at the bird, shouting in its direction. "Excuse me, please. Since you are so high up, can you confirm for me if there is indeed an island floating in the Sea of Infinity? It is appearing and disappearing with each movement of the waves." The bird tipped its right wing and dove lower. As it got closer, the collector could tell that it was an eagle. The eagle came closer and said to the collector, "Yes, there is an island in the middle of the Sea of Infinity, but it is not one that you can get to with a boat or by swimming from the shore. Getting to this island requires one to undertake a journey. But I just undertook a long journey to get to the shore of the Sea of Infinity," protested the collector. "Now you are telling me that I have to take another journey. What assurance can you give me that I will not come to yet another shore whose other bank will remain unapproachable?" As he protested, he noticed that the light of his lamp flickered violently, threatening to go out. The eagle simply smiled and said to him, "You asked, and I answered. Do with the answer as you see fit." With that, the eagle took off and flew almost vertically up into the brilliant sky, disappearing from sight. Once again, the collector sat there, wondering what to do. The light of his lamp was still flickering. He reflected again on all the wonderful things he had seen and learned in his life so far. He had to admit that the experiences and images he had seen on this new shore had expanded his understanding of the fates of humans. So he decided he would embark upon the next journey to find the way to the island in the middle of the Sea of Infinity. With that decision, the light of his lamp stopped flickering and shone brightly. The eagle had not told the collector how to go about this new search, perhaps because he had not asked. So he decided to retrace his steps back through the tunnel to the gatekeeper. Hopefully, the gatekeeper would be able to help him. But when he went back to the entrance to the tunnel, he saw that it was shut. There was no way to go back. By now, the collector was exhausted from his long journey, and from having stayed up all night. He lay down on the soft sandy shore and soon fell into a deep sleep. He woke up suddenly when he heard the tinkling sound of a bell. The bell was attached to the door at the entrance of his shop. It rang to alert him whenever someone entered his store. Sure enough, someone had entered. It was a young woman who had just started her own collection. She had come to him for advice on how to go about being a good collector. More importantly, she had heard about his ability to read the fates associated with the items he collected. She explained that she wanted to know if the collector could help her develop the ability to read the fates attached to the items that she would collect. She told him that she believed this was the only way she could prevent herself from becoming a slave to her collections. The collector smiled at her and confirmed his ability to read the fates attached to the items in his collection. He praised her instinct about the danger of becoming a slave to one's collections. He then told her about his own experience and where to go in the valley of the Himalayas to get her own lamp to guide her search. With that, the lady thanked him and left his shop. It was only after she had left that the collector wondered whether the story of the journey he'd narrated to the woman was real, or had it just been a dream? But he could feel the flame of his lamp still burning brightly within him, and nothing could be more real than that. The collector knew instinctively that he would start yet another journey someday in search of the island in the middle of the Sea of Infinity. Then he thought, who knows how many other journeys I may still have to make? But one thing the collector now knew for sure: his flame would always flicker when he was in doubt, and that knowledge would serve as helpful reminder and guide on all his future journeys.